Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Labb and welcome back to another video on the channel. So I actually decided to come back and make a video regarding something that me and some friends spoke about on our podcast. By the way, if you didn't know, we do run a podcast. We call it the Iconicast and it's hosted by me, Shinzo, and me should be barking. It's a live episode every Tuesday at midnight GMT over on Shinzo's Twitch. You can also catch previous episodes on Spotify. I know, bitch, we're on Spotify now. We had a good friend and fellow content creator, Simple Nix, on the podcast, and we spoke and openly discussed the theory of corporatization in the furry fandom and generally around furry bait, and how we tend to combat that. I'll talk about the concept of furry bait more so later on, and the fact that I believe it does not exist, and is personally a very dumb theory to me. But let's begin with the corporatization thing first, because it really links in more so or practically hand in hand with the furry bait argument. Now, first off, the fandom is not by any means ever going to be corporatized in the same way as the LGBTQ community was, or other communities, where the main reason for this is the fact that the fandom is simply too small and too niche for any sort of meaningful return on investments. You think Nike, Adidas, and fucking Toyota are going to start bringing in fursuit specific items? Like, it's just not logical to think that, because no one would actually buy them. It's common sense that just would not happen. But to a lot of people, the phrase "keep the fandom weird so the corporations stay out" is a common and knowledgeable thing to say, but in actuality, big companies are already staying out of our affairs. The only thing the fandom is used for is a joke, really. Used by gimmick brand accounts as a joke at our expense. Now, you may say that's a corporation cashing in on the furry fandom, but it's actually not. You cannot actually sit me down and tell me that for the KFC España Twitter account, that's Spain, by the way, for my American viewers, made them go out and buy the new Zinger Box Deluxe from KFC because they saw the tweet actively mocking the fandom. That's just stupid to think. Now, 99% of the time, it actually does a lot more damage to the fandom than good, so our efforts to keep the corporations out of the fandom actively tarnishes our reputation and further damages the integrity of the fandom. I'm, of course, speaking about how the fandom has the tendency to spam pornographic content under public brand tags to keep them from interacting with the fandom. I'll go over some best known instances. In 2016, Tony the Tiger Twitter account was bombarded with sexual comments. Now, while some were funnily crafted jokes and puns, it escalated to the point of people spamming Tony the Tiger furry porn on very brand friendly and open forums, which just fucking isn't cool, bro. Like, I understand, I know, I make a, an edgy joke from now and then, maybe just a sprinkle of racism. I'm kidding. But actively spamming porn into a space where, more often than not, it's children replying to their favorite cereal company, and it hasn't seemed to have stopped. Like, here's new posts from September 8th of this year. I want Tony the Tiger to frost my flakes. Like, please let me taste his frosting. I know it tastes great. Like, the frosting joke is heavily overused, but it's a sexual innuendo. Then, from the same account, man is just begging for it at this point. I know it's 12 inches, veiny and blue. Not only this, but many of the posts feature hidden replies filled with pornographic content. Now, luckily, most furries have seemed to have forgotten about it. And so now all Kellogg's has to deal with is unions and actually having to pay their workers correctly. The most decent example we have of this recently, or the most recent, is us tarnishing the fandom's integrity, is the fact that people destroyed a single tweet from the KFC Spain Twitter account by spamming it with pornographic content. Now, luckily, that's been fixed by people posting their own fursuit pics while eating KFC. Here's some wholesomeness with that one. That's pretty good. That's some pretty good stuff. People like, the feckin' Fox obviously responded with their Mackey's order. Now, please, in the comment section, tell me your Mackey's order. Tell me what your Mackey's order is, or your fucking KFC order is. I'll tell you mine. You may ask, well, why do you care so much about... Well, first of all, I actually like KFC. It's personally one of my favourite fast food chain brands. Secondly, just have some self-respect. People seem to lose that in this fandom a lot. At the same time, not only that, but the fandom is filled with quote-unquote weird kids. Maybe I'm not thinking that's such a good thing anymore. Some people are unique and then some people are just weird. My second biggest pet peeve with this, and in general, is how we treat celebrities and movies / video games or anything else that uses furry characters as a concept for furry bait. Furry bait does not exist, and you cannot prove to me that it does. The concept of this single animation studio, video game studio, or a movie company specifically targeting the fandom as their sole contributor to a movie's growth is probably one of the largest reaches I've seen in human history. I understand that I'd say 90% of the people saying this furry bait exists are doing so in a joking manner, but for the 10% that aren't doing it, genuinely touch grass. Like, I genuinely find the entire theory of furry bait just stupid. So let me put this into a situation. The Bad Guys is a movie I really, really enjoy. The art style was absolutely amazing, the story was enjoyable, and overall it was a very well-rounded movie. And was a complete shift away from all the kind of Disney Pixar animation norms that we'd seen. Now, I'd seen a swath of people claiming that the movie is furry bait and that the studio only done it with anthropomorphic characters because, you know, it would attract furries and it would increase the sales of furries. First of all, The Bad Guys is based on a book series which already uses anthropomorphic characters. The studio didn't just decide this is what's gonna happen, and secondly, we are not that important or important enough to have movies specifically targeted towards us. Warner Bros. Aren't in the fucking thing subtweeting furries with movies with every new release. Like, I don't understand it. Just imagine this in a boardroom setting. Okay, so, I like the new movie pitch, but can we possibly market this to furries? Specifically the creepy ones who like gore and heavy shit porn. This movie's written from my book. Like, I spent 10 years writing this single story. Well, I'm sorry, sir, but you just simply don't understand. We can't sell a movie if there's no furries drawn into it. After this, my kids told me about the emerging market, something called MAPS. It's a new market, I've heard. Maybe we could tap into that next. But for the furries, we need to make sure that the furry Twitter porn artists spread this movie for everything so that we get our movie pirated to shit and don't actually make any money off it, and then get acclaimed as furry bait. Like, it's simply illogical to me that the movie execs focus solely on marketing towards the fandom. So I know exactly how to fix this for Twitter users. Replace all the characters with just white men. Job done. But with that, we've inadvertently created another problem. So yeah, that's my opinion. Furry bait does not exist. But also, at the same time, in conclusion, furry bait does not exist. There is no logical reason for a brand or company to ever market specifically towards our fandom or use our fandom for clout. It's just stupidity to think so, and there is no instance of this happening. In the same vein, how we deal with companies needs to change because we're putting other human beings, specifically children, in danger with these practices. But yeah, thank you for listening to my rant, and I'll see you guys in the next video.